shut off the transcript. That's perfect. Okay. All right, gentlemen, we are going to study American military history, like we talked about. To the course of this, the next 9 weeks, as we go through this, you're going to get history credit, Bible credit, and an English credit if you do all the work. Let me begin by giving you the homework so that you know where we're going to end up. Take good notes. Every week, I'm going to ask you guys to come back with an outline of 1 or 2 key items as we go through. I'll just be assigning them randomly as we hit something important or something that you find of particular interest. I want you to go and volunteer. Say, I'll take that. Okay. As we go through some stuff, to go back and find some more information about it, do some research. I'm going to encourage you to bring your laptops with you, or you can use your phones if you don't have laptops. All right. In most classes you get thus far, you're not allowed to use that, right? I want you to use it, right? That's how information flows. We're going to study what's good information and what's bad information so that you can learn to sift through information that you're going to get. Let's face it. Are you going to use the internet to research things? Oh, yeah, all the time. It seems unwise to me to stop you from trying to do that. In fact, I'm going to encourage you to do it. I just want you to learn how to do it properly so that you can say, hey, these are good sites, these are bad sites. There's one website that frequently comes to the top of the search. Anybody know what that is? Wikipedia. What's the problem with Wikipedia? User generated. It's worse than that. It's manipulated. It's notoriously bad. Not that it can't be used. Just be aware, because I want you to look at it. Just be aware that not most of the time, a lot of general facts they have correct. They put a lot of opinions in there, and sometimes they'll change stuff around that's inaccurate. So just, you can use it for some main things like a date of an event, maybe some key points about an event. But then I would go at least to one other website, if not 2 others, and check that basically genuinely fact check it. You've heard the left talk about fact checkers a lot, right? There's usually a bunch of nonsense on their behalf. I want you guys to actually legitimately check facts. And you're going to check your facts, go into multiple websites. Anytime you do a search in any search engine, usually the top 3 or 4 results, how did they get to be the top 3 or 4 results? They paid for it. That's extremely important. They paid to be there. That doesn't necessarily mean they're the most accurate or the most searched or anything of that sort. Just be aware. Typically, when I do a search, I'll skip like either the first whole page or at least the first 3 or 4, because those are paid advertisements, and I want to get down to actual information. You will learn, particularly into history, Encyclopedia Britannica is often up there. It's usually very good. The History Channel has some pretty good information on it. Most of the military events that we're going to cover, there's historical societies that maintain websites that have some accurate information. Sometimes you'll see conflicting information, which is helpful to you. That's really good for you to see conflicting information. Say, this website says this website says that. That's great. When we're doing particularly when we're doing a Bible search, we start getting into some of the topics of morality and legality. I want you to be able to open up your Bible gateways or wherever you're going to go. I mean, obviously, go back as often as you can. Go look at the black and white here, right? Because you just want to make sure that what you're looking at hasn't been altered, modified, or changed. But the best way to find information in the Bible is to do a Google search by Bible passage, right? Show me all the passages on warfare. You get a mountain list, right? You can narrow that down. Rules of warfare. That's going to be one of your homework assignments. You're going to get outlines. And I'm going to have you do an outline. So you come back next week and give me a quick outline of, hey, yes, I went back and I researched the landing and I researched the Plymouth Colony, and here are the 3 or 4 main points on Plymouth Colony. Write this down. You're going to do outlines. Everything is going to be in New Times New Roman. 12-point font. Maybe I'll even send you an outline after this so you have it, okay? With standard, 1A, 1 I, 1, 2, 3, I. Standard indentions. Single spaced, right? I do not get impressed with volume of writing, okay? I don't really care how much you write. I'm not looking for quantity. I'm looking for quality of content. Get your points down, learn how to communicate effectively and succinctly. That's going to be part of our English portion of this, is making sure we can communicate well. I want you to be able to be the masters of the outline. 5-paragraph essay should come to you that fast. It should always be about 1 page, right? What's the key to a 5-paragraph essay? Just so you guys know right out the gate. What's paragraph 1? Always.
Intro.
It's an intro. Hey, this is what I'm going to talk about, right? Boom, 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 boom. And I'm even going to mention my 3 points. What is paragraph 2, 3, and 4 about?
Points, defense.
Point 1, point 2, point 3. Now what's paragraph 5 about? Conclusion. Because of this, what's the result? That's it. Get good at that. Be able to just succinctly put these together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You should be able to nail these out really quick. If I give you a topic, put it into a very, it does, again, don't give me a lot of words. Write the sentences you need to write, even if it's bulletized a little bit, it's got to be understandable so I can read it without having to ask you to decipher it. That's what I'm looking at. Can you accurately and quickly gather information? Can you research it and can you back it up? Can you cite some sources in here? Where did you get that information from? For this, right? I don't need a exhaustive bibliography, whatever it is, copyright. I don't care. I got it from this website, or I got it out of the Bible. I got it out of one of the books, whatever it is. And by the way, there's some of the beauties of the politically incorrect guide to American military history. And this is for you, Mr. Chandler. I know you're listening to this one. The written copy, it's full of citations. It's just, you'll read along and they'll quote something in here and they'll tell you where they got it from. That's helpful, right? They've done a lot of work for you in this little bit of book here, which is very helpful. Okay, this book here is going to be an extremely valuable resource to you. This is the American Patriots Handbook by George Graham. This is one you want to have and write. All this is a collection of original sources. I think most of you guys have heard me talk about this book before. This book, it's very neat and convenient. Everything's in one place. These were particularly hard to locate. For whatever reason, this is now out of print, which was going to cause me a great concern. And then my wife had a brilliant idea, as she often does, which is, why don't you make it a class project to basically make our own Patriots Handbook? So the end state of this class is we're going to create a book, which we are eventually going to publish. The good news is you're not going to write most of the book. What you're going to do is gather the source. If you open up the Patriots Handbook, grab your copy of your Patriots Handbook, if you would, go to page 8. Give an example. Page 8, the American Patriots Handbook. Okay. Says the Mayflower Compact. Okay. Everybody see that italic portion beforehand. Somebody read that.
On board the Mayflower, ship approached Cape Cod, November 11, 1620. This compact is regarded as one of the most important documents in American history. It proves the determination of a small group of English separatists and Christians to live under a rule of law based on the consent of the people and set up their own civil government. The parchment has long since disappeared. The current text was first printed in London in 1622 in a pamphlet generally known as Morg's Relation, which contained extracts from the fledgling colony's journals and history. In an oration delivered at Plymouth in 1802, John Quincy Adams declared that it was perhaps the only instance in human history of that positive original social compact which speculative philosophers have imagined as the only legitimate source of government. Thus, the Pilgrim Fathers had anticipated the social contract 70 years before John Locke and 140 years before Jean Jacques Rousseau.
Very good. All right. Bottom line is, look, there was a summary. This is a bit exhaustive, but this summary, and then after that is the actual text of the Mayflower Compact. You don't have to write the Mayflower Compact. You can go look it up online, cut and paste it in your document in Romans 12-point font. And all I'm going to have you do is write the introduction. Some of this introduction and a lot of these things are already written for you, but since you can't plagiarize, you're going to have to like copy that and maybe take it a little bit different direction based upon some of the things that we're saying in class. And then we will collect a series of sources. Each one of you will probably do 6 or 7 of these documents. You're going to hunt down, read, and give a historical context on the front end. What's the document about? Who's writing it? Why is it being written? Why is it significant? As we collect those documents up, and that's what I'm gonna, by the way, I'm gonna proof those for you. This is where your grammar is gonna get into effect, is what's the purpose of the document? We're gonna create our own handbook. Probably be a little thinner, like more like that, and more effective. There's a lot of stuff in here. I mean, since I didn't want to have to rewrite this, but since they put it on a print, we're going to. We'll pick our favorite documents, and we're going to add some others that aren't in here. So ours might be half as thick, but that's okay. It'll be something that we will then have, and then we can publish and share, and then actually build on as we go along. So listen up closely as we do those things. So outlines at the end of each class, like I'll probably point to each one of you throughout this and assign you with 2 or 3 little outlines. You're gonna write five paragraph little essays on something. I'll also give you some research assignments. When we talk Bible, we're gonna get into what are the 2 things that we're gonna talk about when it comes to law. There is what? Morality and legality. You're gonna research both, particularly when we get into morality. If we talk about something, we talk about the rules of warfare, you guys are all gonna be doing this week. One of your assignments is to go into the Bible, dig out some verses that talk about the rules of warfare. Okay? Biblical rules of warfare. That's one homework assignment for this week. Okay? Biblical rules of warfare. You'll be able to find a bunch of them in the Old Testament. Deuteronomy has a bunch of them. Book of Joshua has some of them. Probably some in, did I say Deuteronomy? I think I did. There's probably some also in Numbers. Go through some of that and find out what are the rules of warfare. That's an important consideration. I will also share with you. I have some books in my library you can take advantage of. I put it out here, maybe you didn't. Yes, I did. Not smart enough to bring with me, so if you don't have it. The rules of Christian warfare, I left it at home. We'll be getting into that. Our outline. Here's another thing we're gonna do. This is gonna be very different. If you had learned history, how many of you have history classes like the ones I had growing up? You had a book like this, and it is full of lots of words and names and dates and just a historical log. Is that what you guys are used to seeing? It tells you this happened, this is how it happened, that's what happened. And if you keep yourself awake, you might be interested in, you might actually figure something out, right? That was history for me growing up, most of my life. That's not how we're gonna do history. History is actually taught through stories. That's how history is meant to be told. How was it told in the Bible? How's history told in the Bible? Orally. It's eventually written down, right? But what is it? It's a collection of stories. There are genealogies in there, right, for recording some specifics that happens. There are occasions where there's the law is laid out, but what does most of the Bible consist of? Stories. We as men were built to share our history through stories. That's what we're about. And when you put the stories and make it real and bring the characters to life, all of a sudden, history has an entirely different flavor to it. I fell in love with history after I graduated college, and I began to study on my own. There's a couple guys who have changed the way we're studying history. I'm going to give you 2 of them. I'll give you 3 of them. The first one is a guy by the name of Michael Sheara. Michael Sheara wrote this book here, The Killer Angels. Anybody know about this book? What do you know about it?
About the Civil War.
What about the Civil War specifically? You know what this covers a specific period of the Civil War. It covers Gettysburg. Have anybody read it?
Long time.
Long time ago. what's fascinating, this is the first time in history, this was originally written, if I'm not mistaken, in the 1970s. It was not picked up by any publishing house, and it wasn't produced because it was considered kind of anathema, right? It was like what is it? No, he fell out. Get him back in.
Have you spelled Shara?
Sheara, Michael Sheara, Shaara. His son, Jeff Sheara, wrote your book, Rise to Rebellion. But this book was criticized on its release because it did not conform to the standards of how history is normally done. Nice dry dates. You're not to put in interpretation or dialogue. He goes outside of the box. He says history would otherwise be boring, and he surrounds it with a dialogue that is an informed dialogue, mind you. He's reading from he's read the letters that have been written. He's read the diaries of all the characters, of all the historical characters, real people, and put those letters into interactions the way they would have been spoken or likely would have been spoken in real life. When you do that, all of a sudden it becomes real. It comes alive. How many of you have been able to crack open the cover of Rise to Rebellion? What do you think of it so far? How far are you in? 2 chapters. So you got through the Boston Massacre and maybe the Boston Tea, or not the Boston Tea Party yet. You're still
No, I'm
still with Thomas Gage. Okay, that's good. Well, how about the rest of you?
What if that part first up?
Yeah.
Or all your first chapter? Okay, but it starts out with a narrative, right? It's very good. It's a very readable. It's going to bring history to life. I encourage you to read these books. I'm going to give you a few on your list to read. There's only one I require you to read is Rise to Rebellion. You're going to find a lot of lessons out of Rise to Rebellion, but it also brings it to life. But let me give you some others you might be interested in. So Michael Sheara wrote The Killer Angels, to which his son Jeff wrote the prequel to The Killer Angels, which is Gods and Generals. He also wrote the third in the trilogy, the one that comes after The Killer Angels, which is The Last Full Measure. All 3 of those are about the war between the states. Those you don't have to read, just I want you to know they are out there, they exist. There's another book out there that follows this genre. There's several of them that have there's several authors that have since begun to use this style of teaching. But another one that's out there is Preston, Gates of Fire, written by, let me see who wrote that. Just remember Preston. Hold on a second. I'll find out his name. Pull up actually, I'm gonna have to. It's on my phone. If I can find my phone. There we go. I have one of these two. It's looking at Cold Harbor, as you can see. Gates of Fire. Let's see what it shows me. Gates of Fire says Stephen Pressfield. Sorry, Stephen Pressfield, Gates of Fire. How many of you read that? You have to read it as a lieutenant. All of you are going to have to read that as before you pick up lieutenant. You have to read Gates of Fire, Starship Troopers, and Ender's Game. Right? Those are 3 that you have to read. But historical narrative, historical fiction, while it is called fiction, and a lot of people go, "Well, you're teaching fiction?" Yeah, historical fiction, because it's the only thing that makes it fiction is they don't know exactly how that came about, but they do know what conversations occurred where in a lot of cases, right? Gates of Fire is a very good. It really brings that history together. I've got a whole Audible list of all kinds of stuff, everything from for the Peloponnesian Wars up to modern. There's actually a lot of World War II history that's done through historical fiction, and on it goes. But some of them are more fiction than others. What you want are the ones that are actually just taking the actual characters and events rather than similar type events. Some of them do the same events, they just have to change the names to protect the guilty. That's really what they're after, right? They change the names to protect the guilty. So that's what we're after. Okay, so I encourage you you'll be reading some of those. You'll be making some commentary on that. This kind of a book here, you're welcome to use anything in my library. This is very helpful for names and dates. You probably never need to open this because, again, you're going to have access to the internet. So if I ask you about a particular battle and who are the commanders at that battle, you'll be able to pull them up. Oh yeah, that was the Battle of Cold Harbor. That was Grant versus Lee, right? And some of the subordinate commanders. Who else was in that battle? The Battle of Gettysburg. Some of the stories you're going to hear are going to be really fascinating. We're going to talk about Lothario Armistead and Winfield Scott Hancock. Anybody have any idea who those two guys are? Probably no idea. What's that?
I think I've heard with it, maybe from you guys.
You probably heard me say it at one point, but it's fascinating when you hear their backstories. How many of you guys have seen you guys have seen the Avengers series, right? Right? Let's just go for the first movie, The Avengers. If you just watch the movie The Avengers, it's a good movie, yes? What makes it more fascinating?
Yeah.
Backstory.
All the backstories. Like, okay, I know the backstory of this guy, the backstory of that guy. And all of a sudden now you're watching the same movie or you're getting to the same point in history. But when you know their backstories, it comes alive. We're going to use a lot of film. I'm going to show you some clips, some video clips, let you hear, I mean, some really well done video clips of some historical, either movies or in some cases documentaries. Again, you're not going to get just a lot of dry teaching. You've heard me teach before, so I'll outline a lot of battles on the chalkboard or on the whiteboard, and away we go. But here's how we're going to lay this thing out. So right now, I think I've got already 8 parts. So I'm going to have to fly through some of this stuff to be able to get it all in 9 weeks. But part 1 and part 2, which I'm going to try to get through some of this today or most of it tonight, is actually historical background that all of you in this room, or at least most of you, have already heard. Chandler, are you still on there, brother? Because this is going to be done. Okay. We're going to bring you up to speed. You're going to be drinking from a fire hose for a minute. Okay. The rest of these cadets have heard a lot of this stuff. So you guys, this will be review for you, but it is the proper place to begin. At this point, I'm going to stop the recording for just a minute, and then I'm going to start it again. So I've got multiple recordings. So let's see what happens here. Record and transcribe. Stop the recording. Boom. Gone.